Hey you, welcome back to Secrets with Maeve, the space for the conversations we usually keep to ourselves. I'm Maeve. Today we're talking about something I know so many of us struggle with in silence. She's doing this, you're on her mind, way more than you think. Let's get into it. If she's doing this, you're already living in her head, Rentre. And the most dangerous part, you probably think it means nothing. Listen to me carefully. Most men miss the quiet signals because they're addicted to loud ones, big compliments, obvious flirting, clear confessions. But a woman rarely announces her emotions like a billboard, especially not in the beginning, especially not when she cares. If she's bringing up something small you once said, days later, you're on her mind. You mentioned you liked black coffee instead of lattes. A week later, she says you're still drinking that strong coffee. That's not random. That's memory wrapped in curiosity. When a woman stores details about you, it means your words replayed in her private space. And what we replay, we value. If she sends you something that reminded her of you, pay attention. A song, a meme, a random video clip. She didn't just stumble across it. She felt a spark of association. Your image crossed her mind before she hit send. Attraction lives in association. The more she connects everyday life to you, the more emotional space you occupy. But here's where men sabotage themselves. You start over-exting, over-explaining, over-pursuing. You think she's interested. Let me double the effort. No, stay steady. When a woman is thinking about you, she is building a quiet, emotional narrative. She's asking herself subtle questions. How would it feel to be around him again? Does he feel safe? Does he challenge me? Is he consistent? Consistency is powerful. If she checks your stories but doesn't always respond, that doesn't mean she's cold. It means she's observing. Women observe before they invest. She's watching how you move, how you react, whether you're grounded or desperate. If she teases you lightly, that playful edge, that's comfort mixed with interest. Indifference is flat. Teasing requires emotional energy. And nobody spends emotional energy on someone irrelevant. Now, let me tell you something. Most men never understand. When a woman asks you a seemingly random question like, "What are you doing this weekend?" She's not just making conversation. She's mapping your availability. She's measuring how your life fits into hers. She's imagining scenarios without telling you she's imagining them. If she remembers your schedule, your deadlines, your big moments, you matter. And if she gets slightly quieter when you mention another woman, that shift in tone, that micro pause, that subtle change in energy, that's emotional territory forming. She won't always show jealousy loudly. Mature women rarely do. But emotional investment creates sensitivity. Here's the deeper truth. When a woman thinks about you, she doesn't just think about your looks. She replays how you made her feel. Did you listen? Did you interrupt? Did you carry yourself with calm confidence? Emotional memory sticks harder than physical attraction. If she lingers in conversation instead of ending it quickly, even when there's a natural exit, she wants to stay in your presence. Time is the most honest currency. We don't waste it on people we don't care about, but don't get arrogant. Interest is fragile. It grows in emotional safety and dies in pressure. You don't need to chase harder. You need to remain centered. Keep your mission, keep your routines, keep your standards. When she senses that your life is full and she's choosing to enter it, not rescue it, her attraction deepens. The strongest position a man can be in is calm certainty. If she's doing these small things, remembering, teasing, checking, associating, you're not invisible. You're present in her thoughts more than you realize. And the man who understands subtlety wins without forcing anything. Because attention isn't loud, it's consistent. Here's a truth most men never fully grasp. Women don't reveal interest the way men do. They don't hand it over on a silver plate. They whisper it, hint at it, and leave breadcrumbs for those sharp enough to notice. And if she's doing this, it's because you occupy a space in her mind that no one else does. Think about the last time she laughed at something you said, really laughed. Not the polite surface level laugh, but that deep, involuntary one that reaches her eyes. That's her brain lighting up in recognition. Humor is a shortcut to intimacy. When she responds like that, it's more than amusement, it's connection. She's mentally mapping you into her emotional landscape, imagining scenarios where you exist together, not just physically, but in her daily thoughts. Pay attention to the pauses in her responses. Men often see them as disinterest or hesitation. Wrong. These pauses are her processing you, analyzing your words, and deciding how much emotional energy she wants to invest in this conversation. Every carefully chosen word she types is weighted with intention. The woman who thinks about you is conscious of her expression because she's aware of the impression she leaves on your mind. And here's the kicker. She'll often test the waters without ever saying it outright. Small challenges, light teasing, subtle contradictions. These aren't attempts to confuse you. They're invitations to engage at a deeper level. She's assessing whether you can handle her complexity without losing your cool. Can you remain steady when she pushes boundaries? Can you respond without overreacting? That's the true measure of a man in her eyes. Notice how she mirrors you, the way she adjusts her tone, the words she chooses, even the rhythm of her sentences. Mirroring is a subconscious cue of attraction. She doesn't do it consciously. Her mind is aligning with yours, creating a subtle resonance. If you're unaware, it feels natural. But the truth is, she's giving you an unspoken signal. You matter. I'm paying attention to the way you move through the world. Then there are the indirect questions, the ones that seem casual but aren't. Do you like this song? Have you ever done this? What do you think about that? She's not just asking for information. She's exploring your worldview, your values, your emotional patterns. She's mentally checking compatibility. Every answer you give becomes part of a mental dossier. She's constructing about who you are and how you feel. And the moment she disappears for a bit, don't panic. This isn't rejection. Women often step back to process their own emotions before fully engaging. If she's thinking about you, she'll return. But the man who understands this waits with patience without insecurity. Calm detachment is magnetic. It signals self-sufficiency and stability, the exact qualities women notice, even if silently. Here's what separates men who get noticed from those who remain invisible. They understand that attention isn't a transaction. It's subtle. It's psychological. It's emotional. When she is drawn to you, she'll show it in ways that are quiet but undeniable. The trick is to observe without over-interpreting, to engage without chasing, to respond without overcommitting. Small gestures matter more than grand declarations. If she remembers a detail from a casual conversation a week ago, that's proof of mental and emotional investment. If she references a shared memory, she's replaying it in her mind. These are micro signals that her thoughts gravitate toward you. The moment you recognize these signals and respond with calm confidence, you shift the dynamic entirely. You move from being someone she casually thinks about to someone she feels emotionally drawn to without ever needing to demand it. Because true attraction doesn't need words. It exists in the unspoken, the remembered, the observed. And right now, if she's doing any of these things, you've already crossed a threshold in her mind. You're not just on her mind. You're lingering there longer than you realize. Now, let me reveal something most men completely misunderstand. When a woman subtly seeks your opinion, she's not being polite. She's testing the emotional gravity you carry in her world. That moment you casually answer her question and she reacts, whether with a smile, a pause, or that barely there eyebrow raise, she's weighing you. She's measuring your emotional resonance, your stability, your depth. And make no mistake, she's doing it without consciously telling you. She doesn't need to. Your reactions speak louder than her words ever could. If she shares personal stories, even fragments of her day or past, pay attention. Women don't hand these out randomly. They are exposing vulnerability, and vulnerability is the ultimate currency of emotional connection. By opening a tiny window into her private world, she's inviting you into a space very few people ever enter. And the more she trusts that you'll hold it without judgment, the more her mind will wander toward you, not just casually, but with intention. She'll replay your responses in her head, overanalyze the tone in your messages, and imagine scenarios where you're a bigger part of her life. Then there's the classic checking in behavior, a quick message. Hey, just thinking about you, or how's your day going? These seem innocent, even mundane, but here's the truth. She's carving out a moment to think of you, to create a connection, to measure your availability. This is not casual. Every time she initiates contact, she's running an emotional calculation. How much energy do I want to invest? How significant is he in my mental space? Notice how she sometimes disappears only to resurface with renewed curiosity. Women often need these gaps to process attraction. They're not rejecting you, they're refining the image of you in their mind. And the man who panics during these absences reveals desperation, while the man who remains calm amplifies his perceived value. Absence, when met with patience, creates anticipation, and anticipation sharpens emotional focus. Pay attention to the little moments of synchrony, the way she laughs at your jokes even before you finish them, the way she references things you only said in passing, the way her mood subtly shifts when she sees you online. It all matters. These are the unspoken threads weaving you into the fabric of her daily thoughts. She doesn't consciously announce it, but every small alignment signals that you are embedded in her emotional world more deeply than she might admit, even to herself. And when she teases you or lightly challenges you, that's her testing boundaries. Women instinctively gauge a man's emotional resilience through these moments. If you react with composure, humor, and quiet confidence, you're demonstrating strength without force, leadership without intimidation. She's not testing to annoy you. She's testing to see whether you're someone worth investing thought, energy, and emotion into. Here's a critical truth most men ignore. The female mind is constantly mapping connections, weighing emotional value, and predicting compatibility. She's rarely blunt. She's rarely obvious. She communicates in layers, in micro moments, in subtle attention. And if you're not aware, you'll overlook the signs entirely, thinking you're invisible, when in reality, you occupy more space in her consciousness than any other man she interacts with. Even silence can be meaningful. When she doesn't reply immediately, but eventually circles back, she's measuring your presence in her mind, her emotional readiness, and her desire to create space for you without losing control of her independence. Emotional investment doesn't rush. It simmers quietly, building over days and weeks. If you notice these signs and respond correctly, something remarkable happens. You become not just a fleeting thought, but a recurring magnetic presence in her mind. You shift from curiosity to necessity, from observer to participant in the emotional narrative she's constructing about you. Because understanding the subtle psychology of attention is not about manipulation, it's about awareness. And once you see it clearly, you'll realize just how powerful it is to occupy her mind. Not through loud gestures or desperate pursuit, but through calm, consistent, unshakable presence. The more she subtly seeks, remembers, and mirrors, the more undeniable the truth becomes. You're on her mind, and she can't ignore it. Here's where most men completely misread the signals and sabotage everything. They see interest, and they panic. They over-message, over-analyze, over-invest. But a woman who's truly thinking about you, she notices composure, she notices patience, she notices the man who moves through life without being controlled by her attention, that more than anything amplifies her fascination. If she asks for your advice, your opinion, or even just your perspective. It's not casual curiosity. It's emotional anchoring. She's testing how your mind works, how your values align, how your presence shapes her thinking. Women rarely invest energy in someone they don't find compelling. Every time she reaches out for guidance, even subtly, she's creating a mental association. You are a solution, a perspective, a presence she craves. Watch how she reacts when you share your world. Men often dismiss her interest when she just listens. Wrong. Listening is intimacy in disguise. When she pays attention to your stories, your passions, your routines, she's actively building a narrative of you in her mind. She visualizes your habits, your lifestyle, the way you handle challenges, the way you interact with others. Every observation becomes a data point. Can I trust him? Do I feel drawn to him? Does he fit into the emotional space I'm willing to allocate? And here's the subtle power move she makes without realizing it herself. She communicates through absence. She might pull back slightly, delay responses, or test your patience. This is not disinterest. It's her mind calibrating how much attention you command without overwhelming her. Women are attracted to men who are calm in uncertainty. When you remain steady, she's drawn to the reliability of your presence, not the desperation of your pursuit. Notice the patterns in her messages. Does she circle back to topics you introduced earlier? Does she reconnect over small shared jokes, inside references, or things only you would remember? That's her subconscious way of reinforcing your significance. Her brain is essentially replaying interactions, storing moments where she felt engaged, intrigued, or emotionally stirred by you. Memory is attraction. The more she remembers, the stronger the pull. And when she laughs at your quirks, your timing, your phrasing, even the way you express frustration, it's not trivial. Humor is a shortcut to emotional bonding. If she's connecting emotionally to your expressions, she's creating a private narrative where you occupy a space no one else does. It's invisible to the casual observer, but monumental to the one who understands the psychology behind it. She may occasionally probe your boundaries, test your responses, or lightly challenge your opinions. That's not conflict. It's curiosity wrapped in psychological calibration. She wants to see how grounded you are, how resilient, how emotionally available yet composed. If you react with stability, humor, and clarity, you're demonstrating qualities she notices deeply. You're showing her that you're reliable, capable, and worth the mental space she's dedicating to you. Even small gestures like her referencing your past words or showing subtle concern for your well-being are massive indicators. These are not things a woman does casually. She's weaving your presence into her everyday thought patterns, mapping how you fit into her mental and emotional life. Each moment is a quiet but powerful declaration. You matter to her more than you realize. Here's the ultimate secret men miss. Women reveal interest not through grand declarations, but through patterns, memory, subtle attention, and emotional testing. If you understand these signs, you can navigate her mind without force, without desperation, and without misreading her quiet but potent signals. Because the more she teases, the more she observes, and the more she recalls your words, the clearer it becomes. You occupy her mind. You linger there, and she can't help thinking of you. Now let's bring everything into focus, because this is the part most men never fully grasp. When a woman is on your mind, when she's subtly testing, teasing, observing, and remembering, she's already invested more than you think. The real power lies not in her words, but in what she doesn't say. The micro moments, the small gestures, the carefully measured attention. That's the language of desire and intrigue. She's crafting an invisible connection, one that exists in her mind long before it ever manifests in actions. If she initiates conversation about things that aren't relevant to her life, things that only connect to you, pay attention. That's mental space being dedicated. She's replaying your interactions, analyzing your behavior, and imagining scenarios where you exist together without even admitting it to herself. These are the subtle threads that tie your presence to her emotions, creating a gravitational pull that's impossible to fake. Notice the patterns in her behavior. Does she remember details you thought she forgot? Does she reference conversations from weeks ago? Does she circle back to topics only you understand? That's not coincidence. It's her mind keeping you present, integrating you into her daily emotional rhythm. Every recall, every mention, every memory is a quiet affirmation. You matter, even if she doesn't say it outright. And here's the thing about attraction that men consistently overlook. It's as much about mental imprint as it is about physical chemistry. When she's thinking about you, she's evaluating compatibility, emotional resonance, and the way you handle life. She's imagining scenarios, considering how you'd fit into her world, and testing the invisible boundaries of connection. The more she reflects on you internally, the deeper her mental and emotional investment grows. If she teases you, questions you, or lightly challenges you, it's not a game, it's emotional calibration. She's seeing if you can hold your ground, if you can respond with composure, and if you're a source of stability rather than chaos. Her mind is scanning for traits that indicate long-term value, for a presence that commands attention without demanding it. That's the kind of impact most men never learn to recognize because they expect overt signals instead of subtle psychological markers. Even the time she steps back, pauses, or seems distant are meaningful. They are not rejection, they are emotional processing. She's measuring the space between you, the weight of your presence, and the reliability of your attention. A man who understands this waits with calm confidence, knowing that patience and consistency are magnetic. Desperation pushes her away. Composure draws her closer. Small gestures like recalling a joke, sending a song, or checking in at the right moment are proof she's thinking about you. These moments create emotional resonance that compounds over time. She's not just interested. She's curating a mental narrative in which you hold an important, irreplaceable role. So here's the ultimate takeaway. When a woman does these things, teasing, observing, mirroring, remembering, and subtly testing, she's signaling attention, interest, and emotional investment without ever announcing it. The man who sees this remains steady and navigates it wisely, doesn't have to chase. He simply becomes unavoidable. And now, a little challenge for you. If a woman remembers the small details of your life and subtly checks in to see how you respond, how much mental space does that put you in her mind? Think carefully. Drop your answer in the comments and see if others notice what you do. If this opened your eyes, like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who needs to understand the unspoken rules of female psychology. Your presence isn't accidental. She's thinking about you more than you realize.